I thought I would do a video to talk about my previous pregnancy, which ended with a stillbirth. So we got pregnant in March of 2016. Wasn't planned, but it was a blessing, and we're both very happy for it to happen. You know, you kind of think about how your life is going to change and the changes you need to make and all the things that are going to happen once the baby comes. And so all this was happening, and we, around 20 weeks, had gone and got a few things. We had a change table, we had a rocking chair, we had a chest of drawers, we'd bought some clothes and all bits and pieces, just in preparation for him to come. So the day that we found out was the day of the morphine scan. And so we're about half an hour into the scan, and the radiographer notices that my cervix is open. And at this point in time, I did not know what that meant or what was going to happen. And then she got another radiographer in, and then got the radiologist in, and a nurse in. So they're all looking, all discussing, and then they ring the women's assessment unit where I was supposed to go, and then they put me in a wheelchair. And I was thinking, this is the most embarrassing thing. You know, didn't realise the complications that this was going to have. We got to the assessment unit, was seen by Ben, who was the registrar on duty, and you know, had a look. I was told to lay down, wasn't able to get up, I was just supposed to lay down. And then we had two other doctors come in, with Kate, who we dealt with throughout the rest of what had happened, and basically they did like an internal, had a look, and they could actually see the membrane sitting where the cervix is open. And so at that stage we had options. If everything was okay, they would have done a stitch, but that was depending on bloods. And so they took the first round of bloods, and we got the results probably within 2 hours, and that's when the marker for infection was very, very high. And the fact that I was healthy meant that the fact that the infection was either in baby or placenta, which we found out later on. So I was still quite optimistic at this point, hoping everything had gone okay. We contacted family and said I was going into hospital, everything was being checked and monitored, and we'll let them know what had happened. The next day they took bloods quite early. Kate came in, and we had that really hard conversation about what to do, what was going to happen. So at that point the infection had gone up again, and we had some options, and we decided that we needed to terminate was the best course of action for health of me and Phoenix at the time. And I guess that was the only sort of control that we had over the situation, because we had no other control. And that was a really hard decision to make. That was hard in the sense that I didn't want to do it, but then, you know, that was the right thing to do at the time. And so preparation, I took medication to do that. But then sort of Phoenix had his own idea, and I started contractions around 6 o'clock that night. They were quite sporadic for the next 3 or 4 hours. I went to bed around 10:30, and within about 15 minutes my waters had broke. And I knew that labour was going to happen quite possibly, and it was not because of the medication, because obviously he decided that he was not well, needed to come out at that point. At that point, rang the hospital, informed them what was going on, took our time to get there, make sure everything was ready, you know, contacted the right people. Contractions were quite strong at that point, and I remember they were painful, but I don't remember how painful they were. got to the labour ward, got settled, got given medication, was in a lot of pain due to labour, obviously, and was able to sleep for a little bit, and then around 4:20 he woke me up because I was ready to push, and at 4:45 he was born. And so he was, there was some signs of life, but he was considered dead at the time of birth, which is, I don't understand that. I don't think I can ever wrap my head around such a idea. So we obviously got to hold him, we got to, be with him, and then I was getting sick, and so I had to go on antibiotics quite frequently and quite a high dose. So I was in hospital for 2-3 days, and then he was with us for probably a couple of days before we said goodbye. It was a very surreal experience. It was, because it happened so quickly over 3 or 4 days, it was not prepared. Shock was obviously settling in, but for the experience we had such great staff and great doctors, and they made it such a lovely experience in the way that they could. They were very caring, they were very understanding, and they were very accommodating, and did things that we didn't even know we wanted. So I'm always very appreciative of those staff, and I remember who they are, I remember them names, and hopefully I'll see them again for the next pregnancy, and that would be nice to see them again. So we then came home, surrounded by family and friends. Me and Barry are very lucky in the fact that we have such fantastic families and really great support systems, and we're very blessed. First week was a bit of a blur of just crying, recovering from labour, just having a sense of loss. Going home without a baby from hospital after giving birth is, I don't know if I can describe it, but it's just not a feeling that you want anyone to have. Anybody who's ever lost a child or had a preterm pregnancy or had a miscarriage can understand those feelings. Loss is not judged when it happened. It's a loss. It's a loss, and everybody takes it differently, and everybody goes through grief differently. And then I remember being tired a lot. I remember sleeping a lot, just exhausted to do anything. We then attended some support groups and reached out to those people, and it was comforting to know that people had gone through it and had survived. And it was amazing how many family and friends have experienced this, but I did not know about these things. So it's not a very discussed subject at all. And so I was quite surprised of those who'd gone through and kept it quiet, where Barry and I are very public with what we did. We advertised it on Facebook. I expressed a lot of feelings on Facebook, and just so people were aware of what was going on as well. And it was a good outlet for me to get my feelings out. But it's quite a closed subject. So this month will be 6 months on since this happened. Some days are harder than others, and some days it catches you by surprise, where you feel the loss more days than others. And a feeling of loss is indescribable in so many ways. It's just something that's missing, and it's missing from me. Even though this new pregnancy gives me something positive to focus on, I'm also I always be thinking about Phoenix and how he is going, and so I have conflicting feelings. I'm happy about what's going on, but then I'm sad about losing him as well. So it's all very much an emotional roller coaster. and you know, your perspective on life changes, your brain changes. The way I've described it is that before my brain was filled up with different things, different spaces, and everything had a space. And now that this has happened, that's filled up those spaces, and there's not much room for much else at the moment. And so, you know, I find that at work that I cannot concentrate for that long, and you know, I'm getting better, but it's a long road to recovery. You know, we talk about him every day when we can. We make sure he's remembered, and you know, I talk about him with family and friends. You know, and it's just about making him present, and that's just what works for me and works for us. You know, and you know, there are days where we do special things for him, where we've now got a tree for him in our parents' garden. We've got special mementos for him. We've got a star for him as well, named after him. So just things to remember him, and you know, to say that he was here and he is valid. And that's the main thing a parent wants after that's happened, is to make sure their child was valid, you know, and they're still present. So that's just a small story of what happened. And I'd like to thank my wonderful family, my wonderful friends for the amazing support they've given us, and just did things without asking. And it's just been wonderful how people can just be so lovely and kind. So I've been very lucky to experience that. If you've got a story like mine, or someone that you want to share, I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to hear what you went through, what happened, what were your circumstances, and maybe we can, you know, join together and get support from each other. Thank you.